Ever going to get back to the old America? That's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5. Isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie.
The Democrats are facing a tough stretch, and Bill Maher says he understands exactly why. During a recent episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the outspoken comedian did not hold back as he explained why the party keeps losing support across the country. With the midterm elections approaching and 2028 already on the horizon, Maher warned that the DNC could be heading into another difficult period unless it changes its overall strategy. According to him, repeating the same message and approach could become politically damaging. As always, be sure to subscribe, get ready, and let's get straight to the story.
I think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are. And their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does.
Mafnan Quaffer quickly points out what he believes is the Democrats' weak strategy. In his opinion, the issue is not only about messaging, it is also about strongly promoting ideas he sees as disconnected from basic science and everyday logic. He says, when political leaders support views that many voters consider unscientific or driven by ideology, they risk pushing away the moderate voters they need to win. What surprises him more, he explains, is when well-known thinkers appear to support these discussions. People like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is famous for promoting science education, sometimes get involved in debates that critics believe mix scientific facts with political ideas. For Maher, this leads to confusion among voters who expect clear and steady guidance from experts. His main message is simple. When a party seems more focused on cultural arguments than everyday economic issues, it should not be surprised when poll numbers slow down and election support weakens.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it.
Maher goes even further, pointing to what he believes are specific ideas that are hurting the DNC's wider appeal. He says many voters feel uncomfortable with positions they see as attempts to change long-standing scientific and historical views. In his opinion, when political messages focus on redefining complicated subjects like gender or social identity in ways that seem sudden or unfamiliar, it causes confusion instead of agreement. He also discusses the debate over youth gender issues, noting that questions about parental roles, consent, and medical decisions have become major topics in the culture debate. For Maher, these are no longer small or isolated issues. They have entered mainstream politics and are shaping how the public sees the party. His concern is that by focusing heavily on culturally divisive topics, Democrats may push away moderate voters who might otherwise agree with them on economic and government priorities, which could weaken their chances in elections.
Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Penises in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. And so, folks, if we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it.
Ultimately urges Democrats to change direction by stepping back from strict ideological positions and opening the door to honest debate. He argues that political power does not come from forcing agreement, but from letting ideas be questioned, examined, and defended publicly. In his view, many voters feel the party has become less open to disagreement, giving the impression that only certain opinions are accepted while others are quickly rejected or criticized. He warns that this creates an echo chamber that may excite loyal supporters but pushes away independent and undecided voters who value open discussion. Maher believes that if Democrats want to rebuild trust and regain strength, they must show confidence in their ideas by engaging with critics instead of avoiding them. For him, the way forward is not silence or strict conformity, but openness, honest debate, and a willingness to face difficult conversations directly without fear.
You don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say shit. And
the rhetoric coming from some parts of the left has grown so intense that even longtime liberals like Maher have started speaking out against it. What concerns him most is the feeling that certain views are no longer presented as opinions to discuss, but as beliefs that must be accepted without question. He argues that when disagreement is treated as a moral flaw instead of a chance for discussion, it shuts down the open exchange that democracy relies on. Critics say this creates an atmosphere where people worry about being publicly criticized or excluded simply for sharing a different opinion. Instead of promoting thoughtful debate, it can seem like pressure to agree. Maher's frustration is based on the belief that persuasion, not force, is what builds lasting support. When open debate disappears and one viewpoint dominates, voters may start to feel left out rather than represented. And that feeling of exclusion can have serious political effects at election time.
Today have gone out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. The problem is they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Shh, that ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of gross gas,
Now you see why Stephen A. Smith was in the polls as a presidential candidate? See what I'm talking about? You see that idiocy right there? You talk about something, people being told.
Stephen A. Smith has also pointed to what he believes is another weak strategy hurting Democrats. The instinct to describe everything Donald Trump does in the worst possible way. According to him, this constant outrage can start to lose its effect, especially when voters begin to see it as routine instead of convincing. He notes that Democrats relied heavily on criticizing Trump long before he entered the White House. Yet that strategy did not stop him from winning at the time. What surprises Smith most is that despite that experience, many leaders seem to be repeating the same approach. Instead of presenting a strong alternative vision, the attention often shifts back to attacking Trump's every action. Smith argues that voters are not only searching for criticism, they want leadership, practical solutions, and a reason to believe in something beyond ongoing political conflict and division.
With 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people. All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you did. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing. And that's what's going to resonate with the American people. And then you wonder why you're no longer in power.
Stephen A. Smith spoke strongly as he criticized what he sees as hypocrisy within the top leadership of the DNC. In his opinion, much of their public reaction feels staged, carefully planned moments meant to create headlines rather than real results. He says many Americans are dealing with everyday problems such as inflation, job security, and rising living costs. However, the party's leaders often seem more focused on symbolic actions than real solutions. Smith believes voters are more aware than politicians think. They can tell when leaders are truly involved and when they are simply protecting their image. According to him, this gap increases frustration and reduces trust. Instead of depending on political performance, he says Democrats must reconnect with voters in practical ways, focus on urgent concerns, and show sincerity through actions rather than polished public appearances alone.
Chuck Schumer and the typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, they don't care about you. Well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Why would you bother folks with transgender and all this? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. They're pieces of shit. They don't give a about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Them. They ain't worth shit.
Stephen A. Smith draws a clear comparison between Donald Trump's political style and the leadership of the Democratic National Committee. According to Smith, Trump's support comes from his straightforward manner. He points out problems, speaks about them directly, and promises quick action, which appeals to voters who value firm decisions. Whether people support his policies or not, Smith says Trump shows clarity and purpose, giving followers the sense that he says exactly what he means. By contrast, Smith criticizes the DNC for what he sees as controlled messaging and careful political strategy that feels less open. He argues this can create doubt among voters who question whether leaders are being completely honest. For Smith, authenticity now holds major political value. He believes voters prefer leaders who seem direct, while anything that appears overly managed or unclear can slowly weaken public trust and credibility.
Do you know what his followers say? Yeah! That's how we want you talking to those politicians who've been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol Hill.
Stephen A. Smith believes that Bill Maher recognizes something many politicians forget: the strong frustration Americans feel toward the political establishment. Maher connects with that feeling by openly criticizing leaders, institutions, and decisions he thinks deserve attention, often using sharp and direct language. His readiness to challenge political figures appeals to audiences who believe their concerns are often ignored or softened by traditional messaging. Smith says this gives Maher an advantage. He presents himself as someone willing to question authority, no matter the political party. In comparison, Smith argues that the DNC often seems more careful and reserved, which may look like uncertainty instead of strong belief. He says voters respond to confidence and clarity, especially during times of political distrust. For Smith, the message is straightforward. Honesty and direct communication can attract attention and restore credibility with frustrated voters today.
See me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the Black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters?
The warnings from Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith present a concerning outlook for the Democratic National Committee. Both voices, though from different fields, highlight the same central problem: disconnection. They say voters are looking for honesty, clarity, and solutions, not rigid ideology, political performance, or non-stop outrage. At the same time, they argue that Donald Trump's appeal comes from his image of decisiveness and authenticity. Whether critics approve or not, the message is clear and urgent. If Democrats continue dismissing disagreement, avoiding open debate, and relying on staged politics, they could lose even more support among everyday Americans. Voters are watching closely and can recognize the difference between true conviction and careful calculation. For Maher and Smith, the solution is not complex. It involves listening carefully, engaging openly, and rebuilding trust before frustration turns into lasting political rejection at future elections, now across the country. This concludes today's report. If you enjoyed it, press like and subscribe for more updates. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.